Okay. So I'd like to welcome everyone to our inaugural council meeting for the council term of 2022 to 2026. So to start the meeting, I'm going to swear in our new mayor and then turn the chair of the meeting over to her.
I, Amy Mazie, having been elected or appointed to the office of mayor in the municipality of the township of Nairn and Hyman, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truthfully, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So I will sign off on this. Okay, so
Okay, so now-
officially turning over the chair of the meeting to you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
There you go.
We're getting ice cream. So,
Question, can I ask a question? Is it all right to take some pictures for you to,
You would like?
okay?
Yeah.
I'll get you to.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have asked.
Oh.
for it.
Nope. It's not ready yet.
already, I've got a picture too, so.
Okay.
So now we will swear in Councillor McVeigh, Councillor McDonald, and Councillor Austin. Yes. If you could read it together.
We'll try. Okay, I, Wayne Austin.
I, Rod McDonald, having been elected or appointed to the office of council in the municipality of the township of Nairn, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof.
Bias. Exercise.
Exercises this office in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interests, direct or indirect, to court with the that. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration consciously, believe it to be true and knowledge that it is the same force and effect as it is under oath.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Talking about it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So now, Councillor David, you can stand, actually, just wait a second.
I, Guy Defetti, having been elected to the office of councillor in the municipality of the town of Nairn and Hyman, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received or will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any particular interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I identify as an indigenous person, and I assert that making the declaration of allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III would be inconsistent with my views regarding the relationship between the Crown and Indigenous peoples. And I make this solemn promise and declare conscientiously believe it to be true, and knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath.
I don't think we.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Should we take a picture or later? We can after.
I get everybody together. I get one.
I think Linda mentioned after.
Yeah, we can do it after.
Oh,
Wanna do
okay.
it after?
Yeah.
I like how you're a good picture guy. I'm actually surprised there aren't pictures, are they? Cause you know, we talk about our own mayors, right? We know who they are.
Oh, I didn't like everyone. Yeah. But the Shannon got a nice one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and the whole flag. Order.
Okay, I have it here.
Okay, so then we start going through and you're asking one of these, you're gonna.
Oh. So does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I do not.
No, okay.
All right, delegations, we don't have any. Discussions arising from the previous council minutes. So you must have declared the meeting open. That's what I'm
Yes.
guessing. Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
So discussions arising from the previous council minutes. Is there any? Did we need to pause the camera for a minute and do all the firsting and seconding?
You can do that now.
Okay, so let's, okay. So, I don't know how exactly we worded that, but moved by Councillor Despatie and seconded by Councillor Austin that the following council minutes be accepted as presented, the regular council meeting minutes of October 11th, 2022.
I'll just ask the phone.
All in favor? And I just checked that it's passed.
And then sign it.
Just leave it in the file. And we resolved that the minutes and reports of 6A to G are noted as received, first by Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Despatie. All in favor? And now we do them individually. So we go to counselor training, is there, or counselor training for the 2022 to 26 council term, it was. Let me just put it up for discussion. Yeah, so what kind of discussion do you want to have about that? The counselor training, it's December 30th, or no, November 30th. No discussion about it?
Yes, I was, gonna open my hand.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
I won't be going to it because, I can't leave the house for that long a time, all day long. I'm a caregiver to my wife. I'm not gonna leave her.
Is there anything we can do to help alleviate that? It's,
I never done it any other years. I did it at the beginning, but. I should have
Is
said,
that gonna be Zoom?
not that I know of, Councilor Despatie.
Can we make available, the transcripts of the training? I'm sure there's some.
I'm sure we can do our best. It's a whole day, so I don't know if we could record all of it, but I could certainly find out if, the trainer could provide, you know, some recordings while he's here.
It's, I think it's important, as a caregiver to, Have time to
Agreed,
use.
yeah.
Any other? I don't mind coming, and maybe that's inappropriate, but me talking with Councilor McDonald, like basically reporting to him what happened, I don't. Oh, it's completely up to you.
Is that gonna be done in the hall here?
There was one in the hall and then there's one in Espanola. So the one was here and we have a lunch break. We were going to have lunch provided, but that could mean you could go home for the hour.
I might go with that. If I get allowed to have my phone in my pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anyone else in the community that might be able to help with that?
And then, you know, my wife's very fussy. Not fussy, but I don't think she wants somebody to come in.
What are the,
Nobody like Rod.
You know, you got-
anyway. So wasn't this an expectation passed by previous council? So what happens if we have someone that's unable to come or partially, like, so he
Yeah.
can come to the Nairn Center?
Through you, Madam Chair? Okay. Thank you. Yes, there was a previous expectation of council just due to, the evolving role of counselors, and there's new legislation coming out all the time. So it was our hope that by providing two of them, that counselors could come to at least one of them. If obviously a caregiver is very important, we can do our best if you wanna try to attend maybe half the day or,
Oh, excuse me, sorry,
yeah,
No,
that's our hope,
yeah,
but I can try to provide as much material for you as possible if you can attend.
no, I can attend as long as I, my phone and it, I can't promise I'm gonna be there.
It's gonna be quite interactive, Rod. I think you'll find it'll be very relaxed and, I don't think anyone would disagree with you keeping it at home. Thank you.
And I don't mind if you're unable to attend the Espanola event. I don't mind going, taking notes, and then maybe going over them with you. I think that's easier than having to read a lot of material, which you still could do as well.
Yeah.
Is that something you would be interested in?
I've been through all these before, so I just not to. If it's mandatory, well, I'm sorry, I have to leave now, because I can't do it.
Well, I think if the goal was to have council attend at least one of the events, and if you can come to the one in Nairn, and if you go over the notes from the other one.
Yeah, I'll try to come to this one here.
I would appreciate if anyone's whoever's attending the December 15th one, if they could, let me know. We're paying per person to attend that one, so, if you can make it, please let me know, if possible
Is that
tonight.
the one that's wrong?
The one on December 15th in Espanola, yeah. The November 30th is here.
Okay, no, I won't be going.
Can we just ask everyone individually now?
Yeah, if everyone would like to let me know now, it would be very helpful for planning the event.
The December 15th, I will be available.
He will be available?
I have to attend the medical issue.
Yeah,
on,
you told
November
me you
30th.
wouldn't be here for the 30th.
But I may come in for 45 minutes and then come.
You'll meet our new integrity commissioner. He's the one that's doing the training, so.
And
it'd be handy.
how long my appointment takes, I may be able to catch the back end of it. So.
Wayne, would you be attending the 15th?
Yes.
Of December?
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, will you be attending? And Rod, no?
Not this, no.
Not the Espanola one? Okay. And Amy, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, so be it resolved that council receives the CAO's report regarding, 2022-41 regarding counselor training for the 2022-2026 council term for information firsted by Counselor Despatie, I think, and seconded by Counselor Austin. I'll get better at those. All in favor? So that was just receiving.
Yeah, there was really no resolution required.
Okay. Okay, so moving on then is building inspection services. Do we have a resolution for that?
Just to receive it as information.
Okay, be it resolved that council receives the CAO's report 2022-42 regarding building inspection services for information. Moved by Counselor Austin and seconded by Counselor Despatie. All in favor?
I can ask.
Yes. Anything you want to? I actually had some questions about that myself. So wasn't that our building inspector was through Espanola and we shared him, and now we are going to share through the other three communities, us and Baldwin and Massey.
Yeah, that's the proposal. Of course, it's council's decision once they see the proposed contract. But we're hoping it's gonna be structured in a similar way to our current contract, where it's shared, where we all basically are paying for the hours that he's working for our community and mileage. I believe the community of Sabo Spanish has finalized a contract with them starting January 1st, 2023. And I believe will be purchasing him a vehicle, which will solve a lot of issues. How we're going to share the cost for that vehicle, I'm not quite sure yet, so that's why I'm awaiting what their proposal is. We haven't had to share vehicle costs in the past, but that was stipulation of the agreement of the contracts.
So this is a change in building inspectors for us, and we are unable to stay
With the town of Espanola, yes. When we set it up, it was always on the basis of temporary basis, and we would eventually figure out either having our own or one of the larger communities would get one other than the town of Espanola. So it's going to be the same building inspector that we have now. He's received the CBO, that's Chief Building Official, diploma. So he will be able to provide all the services we need. So, I'm interested to see what that contract's gonna look like, but it'll be brought before council, to discuss.
Any other discussion on the subject?
I'll wait till I see the, oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna wait till see what the end result is.
Well, we don't have a choice, right? We have to have a building inspector. If we don't have a building inspector, we can't do any building under the provincial guidelines, so
That's correct.
We're
We
more or less-
don't have much of it.
we're not gonna, Sudbury's not gonna give us nobody, and Espano's not gonna give us nobody, so we're pretty well, we're just waiting to see what we're gonna pay. Okay,
Yeah, it'll probably be a lot more than it is now because of Esmeralda back out there.
Through you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder too, we were paying a 15% surcharge per hour for the CBO's oversight of Espanola. So I believe the cost will be similar, because instead of paying for an inspector and CBO services, we have one person doing both those jobs now. So I expect it to be quite reasonable. The only thing, like I said, is up in the air is how we'll share the cost of the vehicle.
Any more discussion? I guess we just wait and see
Wait and see.
what the final deal looks like.
Well,
So
just
then-
like Trevor said, they're got no choice.
yeah, unless we're gonna,
Unless we get our own, which we can't.
It's
Yeah.
mandatory, we have.
Pricey.
yeah. So the next thing, we don't have a motion for that, we just wait and see.
Just wait and see.
The next thing is the municipal office Christmas hours.
So we can open that up for discussion. I have prepared a resolution basically with what the report has stated.
Yeah, I assume everyone looked at that report and saw the dates. Did it seem reasonable to everyone?
No problem.
It doesn't change our cost, employees are, it's just,
Yeah, there, it'll just be public holiday paid for the days that we're gonna be closed, but you would receive that anyways, and the only day that we would have to take off of our vacation time would be the Friday, December 23rd, and traditionally, we've always closed at noon, the day, like Christmas Eve, but since
Mhm.
Christmas Eve is the Saturday, but I figured it was a nice, little break for the staff, and it doesn't affect any of the, bill payment dates, so. Okay, any more discussion?
I got some issues with that, Mrs. Chair. I don't care.
be it resolved that the CAO's report 2022-043 dated November 8th, 2022 be received for information, and further that council authorizes municipal office to be closed the following days for the 2022 holiday season, Friday, December 23rd, 2022, Monday, December 26th, 2022, Tuesday, December 27th, 2022, Monday, January 2nd, 2023. All in favor? Thank you. Oh. And now we have investing in Canada infrastructure. So we need to discuss it before we do this.
Yeah. And I do have some new information.
So would you like to just start with the new information?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I received an email from Joseph Burke, that's, Espinol's clerk, yesterday. And he had sent me an email and asked me to pass it along to council, that they've hired a community health navigator. Her name is Jennifer Lagrandu, and she's hired in conjunction with the Espanola Hospital and in partnership with the town of Espanola. And she's been hired to work as a lead on the implementation of the community safety and well-being plan for our communities. And she's also gonna be assisting us in this grant application for this investing in Canada infrastructure stream. And if we do get the grant, it would be to help implement the pilot program. So that's good news, that we do have someone, community health navigator. So she's going to be reaching out to each community and possibly council members. She would like to know, she's gathering data and would like to request that people contact her to let her know if they would utilize this type of system or know someone that would utilize it. Says that we want to hear from people to ensure that we have some backup to demonstrate the need before purchasing the vehicle if we are successful with the grant application. So they're just asking for assistance and sharing information once Jennifer has prepared to accept the data. Thank you. Madam Chair.
So we're gonna,
Councilor David.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm assuming we're gonna use our new app to advertise this and advertise it on Facebook, so we could get some feedback.
Once we have that, yes. Unfortunately, we only have 18 people following that app at the moment, and most of them are staff or council members, so it's not as successful as we had hoped.
Okay.
But we will definitely put it out there through social media and our website, and pass along her name to the council members as well, so they can give their input.
Maybe if we can do a mailing.
A newsletter.
Yeah.
I think this is important, because
Yeah.
I agree.
some of our elderly people might need the service, so.
We'll definitely get it out in every way we communicate with the community.
Councilor
Thank
Day.
you.
Well, let me know.
Councilor Martin.
No, I kinda agree with it, but I have to see all the thing, because that's what was my biggest worry. If something happens to me and I can't drive, that means I probably have to leave there until you get to Espanola or something, live with somebody else, so. If I can't drive no more, at least something like that can go to appointments, and that would help me a little bit. I would have to look at the cost to see.
The cost for the town or for the cost for you?
Well, the cost for the town, the cost for me, that's in material would be just like getting the bus, on the bus. Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it would be worth it, because like I said, if I can't drive no more, and my wife can't drive, I'm stuck in there, you know?
Well, especially, I don't
Unless
know,
I
if
get
you're
taxed.
still talking about going to Sudbury, but if you're doing chemotherapy, that's very regular travel, right? And you're very sick.
Well, apparently in the article I wrote, that they go to Sudbury, twice a week or something.
It
The
was
bus.
3 times a week, what I read,
That's the hope.
but I think it might be changing.
It's the whole.
That's the hope.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns, Councilor McVeigh.
No, I think with our aging community, I think, it's definitely something we gotta look at, because we do have a lot of young families that have moved into town recently, but there's still a large volume of, aged community. that
Well,
could
yeah,
really
they have the
use this.
statistics on that they're at 40% would be, and was it in Espanola? And they actually said the number had gone up since they had done the study.
Yeah, it's nice that it helps people stay in their communities, like Councilor McDonald said, if you want to stay here and you can't drive, it.
I probably would stay here anyway, and get somebody to drive me or something, but then
Well,
I'm gonna leave, but I mean.
I like how in the report, they talked about many people rely on family and volunteers, but that's not as reliable as a system planned by the community, so. Councilor Austin.
I had a lot of questions when I went through this. The one thing is that they're only gonna take you to Health Sciences North. Like, I end up with a lot of their Health Sciences North visits, but they're not at the hospital. They're at other locations. And the other thing was, I believe it mentioned in Espanola, their care bus will pick everybody up and bring it to the bus. But in there, if you live in San Bay, you get out here,
Yeah.
then you get to ride. So how efficient is that gonna be for the people in the rural areas? If they're not gonna, if you got 3 people in there and they come and stop at 3 houses and pick them up. It just makes it rather difficult for people that can't cope or can't drive.
No, I think you bring up a good point. If you're in San Bay and you already have to get someone to get you to Narren Center, I mean,
Sudbury.
well, Sudbury is a lot further, but it might be difficult just to get to Narren Center.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, we need to decide if we are willing to pay the $8,000 if they get the grant and we go forward with it. If we do not agree to be good for the $8,000, then they can't go forward with the grant and we're out of consideration. So it is kind of, we don't really know financially what this is gonna look like for us, but we're not committing at this point for the whole thing. What we're committing to is for the $8,000.
Yeah, but once you commit to $8,000, you pretty well gotta go through with it.
Well, it might be considerable expense, right?
30,000, right? So.
Councilor Despatie?
Is their plan, flexible, or is this is what we offer you and take it or leave it?
It's, why don't you speak to that? Because it seems flexible to me because it seems to have evolved even just in a few days.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe it is flexible. I believe this is something that's gonna be negotiated through the La Cloche foothills. I think if, for example, they give us a number for year 2, and it's something that just is something we can't even consider, I think we can go back to them and say,
This isn't working.
this isn't
for us.
working for us, or we need help finding additional funding for this. I believe there will be a lot of funding coming for this initiative once we get it in gear. But I think they're waiting for us to get the grant, to get the van. We'll do a pilot, show them that it's viable, then I think more grants come in. I don't think we'll be funding this completely on our
Madam Chair, if I can just, it's not so much the funding that I'm thinking about, although it is a priority. But it's to answer Councilor Austin's question about are they flexible to go to Sand Bay for one person or two people? That's, you know, because if I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe the only people that require this service are 3 people at Sand Bay, but they want to pick them up at the town hall. It doesn't work.
There's a lot to this, I think we gotta get more information. The government should trip in a lot more than what I'm expecting they're going to. They should supply that. If they want us seniors to keep them to stay in their home, they should be helping us out, you know, but, you know, like, they don't have no senior homes now. I was told, put your name in now, you might not, you'll probably never get it, you know. But I'm not planning on going home, but, you know, if you can't look after yourself, they send nurses in and during the day, it's not the same, you know, you're senior, you're just laying in bed all by yourself, most likely, you know. So it's, the government's gotta start thinking a little bit more about all the people, not just, you know, all the
Well, I
communities.
think the numbers in the report were that the van was going to cost over $100,000, right? So we are splitting the 33,000 almost amongst 4 communities. That's really what's happening. So the government is,
They're gonna put in 60,000.
yeah, that's a good chunk of change. I think the issue is that we need to either decide if we're in this or not, because we don't have till the next council meeting. So otherwise, the grant is gone and there's no vehicle. So we don't really have time. I would love to collect more data and just see what use it would be to our community. I think we're gonna do that anyway. But I think we almost have to decide on this $8,000 expenditure tonight.
Well, that don't look good to me, though. You gotta make up your mind up that quick on something big like that there, for taxpayers that gotta make up their mind. We're making up our mind for all the taxpayers, and to me, it's not right. If we don't have the numbers and everything in front of us, how can we agree to it?
Well, they've given us a lot of information. I think it's us going back to our community and seeing what we think. Did you want to speak to this at all?
Well, we got lots, like Guy said there, like a time in there, we got lots of things to think about here. And I don't like to rush things, that's what the government does, everybody does it, they push it to you, then you gotta make a decision. Well, I
there are
don't,
deadlines to grant applications,
That's true.
right? So, but I think, Linda's gonna say.
Yes, and through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to point out that this $8,000 we will owe it only if this grant application is successful. If the grant application is not successful, we don't give them a dime.
But then we don't get the van either.
Well, there's no van, if,
Yeah.
I mean. I agree with Councillor McDonald that it is rushed. This was presented to council back in May. However, this grant opportunity has come up through the Infrastructure Canada transit stream, and we decided, let's go for it. But obviously, if council doesn't agree, then that's council's choice, but it is a bit of a leap of faith, and it is seem like we're putting the cart before the horse. But sometimes with grant applications, you have to do that and figure it out once you get the funding coming to you. And if you look through supplementary information. It discussed how the pilot, program was gonna be laid out, that it would be a test of approximately 4 months. And just because they're trying a route doesn't mean it's set in stone. And I think if people give their voice to their needs, to this new person in charge of this, for example, like Councillor Austin's thoughts that Sand Bay people need access to it. I think if that voice is put forward, I think they would give it serious concern. And I really think it's important that the community feels like we're trying to help them with this.
I'm sure, I'm sure the other communities there, you got, we'll call it Webwood, has the same issue.
Same
There's a lot of people live on
And that's-
town. Well, they have to get here, and then something we haven't mentioned is there's gonna be a fee of probably, I think they stated a minimum of $20 for you to take that bus.
To Sudbury,
Yeah.
$10 to go to Espanola.
Yeah.
That's not unreasonable.
No, it's not unreasonable, but when you add it to somebody that has to maybe pay somebody to bring them out from Sand Bay.
Yeah.
To get here to catch the, is the public gonna really want to get mixed in this?
Well, same with Baldwin or McCarroll, right?
Yeah.
Baldwin, yeah, they got.
Councillor McDonald, Councillor McVeigh.
I've got to pay attention.
No problem. Well, but we're only gonna pay this $8,000 if the grant is approved. If the grant isn't approved, we pay nothing. So if we don't do it, it's not gonna happen.
Councillor Despetit, you must be excited about this, because this was one of your priorities that I've talked to you.
Yeah, I'm not against it, but there are some concerns. And I think we should, make the application and, then we'll have to iron out the details afterwards.
Agreed.
So do you feel like we're ready to go to a vote over it?
Well, we very well have to.
So you do the recorded vote?
Sure, so I have to request it and I circle my name. Okay, all in favor?
Oh, you have to read the
You
rest.
gotta
Oh,
read-
sorry, and it's like 2 paragraphs. Be it resolved that the CAO's report 2022-044 be received for information, and further that council endorses the grant application to be submitted by the town of Espanola to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, public transit stream, and that council further approves a one-time contribution of $8,229.25 in 2023, based on the maximum allocation available to the town of Espanola under this stream, and this amount being the required municipal contribution divided evenly between the townships of Baldwin, Narren and Hyman, Sauble, Spanish Rivers, and the town of Espanola, for an overall municipal contribution of $32,917, and that council approve in principle, if the application is successful, appropriate resources within our annual budget for the operating cost of an accessible transit vehicle to be negotiated on mutually agreeable terms between the mentioned partners. All in favor? So that was everyone, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually on the recorded vote, they go with each one individually, but I think.
Okay, so I asked it, should I do that now? Or
Yeah,
we were
let's
fine?
do it properly.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, Councillor Despetit,
Yes,
Councillor Austin,
Yes,
Councillor McVeigh,
Yes.
and Councillor McDonald.
Yes,
And do I asked for the vote, so
Yeah.
or do I say?
You
that-
can say that you're an yes or.
Okay.
Mhm.
And next, we have the 2022 through quarter financial update.
Some questions.
Yeah, so do you want to discuss it? Do you have any questions about it? This is, the report from Belinda, right? Right, correct, so that's what I am. Any discussion about it, Councillor McDonald?
yes. Before we changed it, we used to get a financial report with each account number on it.
Mhm.
So a counselor looked at you can see how much he spent on different items.
Mhm.
This one here, you don't know. I like to see it, the financial report back the way it was before, where every account number's on it. You can see, instead of just having like, general, 275,000, it'd be broke down to wages and, benefits, everything. And I also would like to see that come back quarterly. And I also like to see, disbursement sheets back, so we know what staff is paying, what they're buying. And I missed that a lot the last 2 or 3 years.
Does anyone else feel the same way, that you want more detail in the report, Councilor Despatie?
I'm not a detail man, and anyway, we have auditors that, go through our books every year. So if there's, misappropriation of funds, they're gonna be called out on it. I don't know if it's a counselor's job to see where every penny goes. I think it's a menial task. We let accountants do that. I don't know, that's just me.
That's your feeling. Councilor McDonald?
I'm a counselor and I'm accounting for every penny, whether you like it or not. And I like to see what staff is, it's just a disbursement sheet. And they got the disbursement sheet there, all they gotta do is print it out to us. And you can see, and if they go over budget in June or July, well then council is responsible to see why they went over budget. So this is information that you need as a counselor.
Councilor Despatie?
From what I read, there was nothing over budget. In CAO's report,
But you.
so we have no concerns. If something was over budget, then we should be concerned, and maybe we could call her out on the carpet, but.
Well, or ask for more information.
Yeah.
I don't need to call anyone out.
But. There's,
You feel this is enough detail for you, Councilor
I
McVeigh?
agree with, Councilor Reed. I don't need to micromanage. I don't like to go through each thing. If there is some that we see that we're,
You're
obviously,
questioning.
then I think we go back and see if she's the one we go back to, and she'll have to explain it. To us. Yes.
Yeah, I really liked your notes below the numbers, because sometimes when I had questions, it was immediately answered right below. Councilor Austin, how do you feel about this?
I'm concerned with it. I would like to see more information. I mean, this is telling me nothing on what's been spent. We budgeted to fix, say, something in roads. Is it done? I don't know by looking at this figure here. Then I'm gonna get at the end of the year, well, it's not done.
Right, do you want to answer to some?
Yeah, I can certainly answer that, Madam Chair. I appreciate all your concerns, especially, I know your concerns, Council McDonald, and I certainly appreciate that it is council's duty to ensure the financial stability of the municipality. But if you remember back in, I believe it was 2020, the former council passed a resolution removing disbursement sheets and accounts from our agenda. That changed our procedural bylaw. So there's been many discussions about it since, and unfortunately, due to the way our procedural bylaw is, you would have to put forward a notice of motion to have that motion overturned, and you'd have to have a majority of council's vote to overturn that. As we've discussed many times, the disbursement sheets are still in the office. They're available for anyone to view. And if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to talk to you about it. But I always identify in my reports if projects are running late, or when they're going to be done, or if they're not going to be done. I always identify that to everyone. And unfortunately, some of them can run overdue due to COVID. We're waiting for parts for the water treatment plant, for instance. So I will do my best, and if certainly more detail is requested, I can certainly do a report on that.
Councilor McDonald?
On the training I took earlier, 2 years ago, it's a council. When you see spending done and you don't know where it's going, it's council. It's our job to make sure they're spending the money as they're supposed to be spending. When you do a budget, usually we know what they're spending it on, like roads and that different stuff. And if they're using it for someplace else, I like to know that. And that's been accountable. It's not micromanagement. It's your job as a counselor to know where the money's going. That's their main important thing. With any training I ever took, they always brings that up, that you're responsible for it. I can go to that office, sure. I get a disbursement sheet with my agenda. I can do that at home. I don't have to come over here to do it. I spend hours on doing the business for financially and different things at home. You know, and then I know what I'm talking about when I come to council meetings and I don't know, what's the big thing? If you print them out, it's in the office, sitting on a desk there, why can't you print it out and give it to each one?
Well, it is a previous motion of
Yeah,
a previous
no,
council.
I'll put a
So-
motion on that probably next month and vote on it.
Well, the other issue is that if the thing we're talking about, that if we make 3 changes to it, then we have to
Yeah.
completely redo.
Yeah, so in our procedural bylaw, it's only allowed 2 amendments. And then it has to be completely redone and accepted by council again. If you take a look at it, so, obviously an amendment,
To us, to redo our procedural.
it would be time consuming.
Okay.
Yeah. But if council wants to put that back on the agenda, a counselor would have to bring forth a notice of motion, and just to have it brought back to the table, he needs to have a majority vote, just to have it discussed again, so, that's something that certainly he can do.
Any more discussion about that?
One final question. If a counselor wants those disbursement sheets, do they have to stay in the office or can he take it home?
That's a good question. The way I'm understanding of it, you could have a copy of the disbursement sheet.
Yeah.
You couldn't have the actual invoices to take home, but you could have a copy of the list of checks that were written for this department in this month, absolutely.
So,
Well, that's-
Madam Chair, would that satisfy your needs?
Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot I get a copy of it. I'll be happy. That's what I'll talk with it. You get a copy.
But you'd have to come and pick it up,
Well, I can come pick it up.
so we could put this matter to bed.
Or it could be in the mailbox, right?
It could be in your mailbox,
And
and
so
if
then-
whoever wanted
They
it,
do that there once different, put in the agenda pack. It's not much different. But no, I'll go with that. If I can get the disbursement sheet every month, I'll be happy with it. And a financial report. Yeah, quarterly with the account numbers on it. Then I can compare the disbursement sheet and the financial report. Cause I found many mistakes, errors, you know, like,
Just
in there with no-
Counselor McDonald, do we need to talk?
oh, I thought I had four.
that would have to be a notice of motion as well.
Okay, so I thought we were agreeing on a general, but it was getting too specific.
Yes.
Okay, so there's general information that could be made available.
It could be made available, all the disbursement sheets of Counselor McDonald would like to come pick it up, no problem.
Okay,
It's just, it doesn't need to be part of the council agenda.
right, it can't-
Or so
it can't-
the past council thought
Yeah.
it would be.
yeah,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor
I
Johnson.
just want to make a suggestion. I don't want any of that in my mailbox. There's accountants that were very well educated that go through our books. I don't want anything to do with that.
I think you make a great point. Be it resolved that the CAO's report of 2022-45, which presents the 2022 third quarter financial report to council, be accepted as presented. First, it's moved by Councilor McDonald and seconded by Councilor McVeigh. All in favor? Right. Thank you. this is another thing we might need to discuss. I don't know if I should say this, but I think we should defer this till December, but let's talk about how we set the establishment of committees for the 2022 to 2026. I think in the report you had recommended.
No whispering.
No, sorry, sorry.
You could just refer to me as the CAO.
Yeah, okay, that sounded impersonal.
Or Madame CEO.
Madame, yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
I'm just joking really, but.
No, I'm sure I'm probably not supposed to. I was just asking how I should refer to her because I was using her first name. And I hadn't thought of that as I was trying to get ready. So do we have, we have two different motions because so we have several different committees. They were in the report. We can combine them. Did anyone have any thoughts about how you might want to do it, or my feeling is that I'd like to wait. Anybody have any thoughts about the committees?
I'm not quite sure. We only got a recreation committee and the public works committee.
No, I think we have more than that. It was in the
Okay.
list.
Just the other ones.
Wait, do you know what number it is?
It would be, 6F, I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, it's
that-
not this.
In here, just go down.
Okay. Oh, when I was here, yeah, so. So we have Parks and Recreation. Public Works and Planning and Economic Development.
Well, that goes with the public works.
Um. Does anyone have any, for myself, I feel like there's some interesting combinations we could do, but I don't feel like I know enough about these really specific committees. Of course, I know about RAC. Because I've served on Recreation. Property Standards Committee. I would actually like to start a horticultural committee, which I think anyway, they're very similar. Any thoughts?
The only one, sometimes the Boschwood Hills, they got a committee there for what you just said there.
Economic
Yeah,
development?
not economic development, but the emergency preparedness and stuff like that. A lot of that is up there in the Boschwood Hills. We discussed that. Right in there, and as far as I know, we got public works and recreation.
Yes, because I think you deal with it.
Yeah, we've always had, well, not always, I apologize, since I've been here, we've always had an emergency preparedness committee, but there's a bylaw that stipulates who's in that committee already.
Yeah.
So we don't have to form it, so it'd be the mayor, the fire chief, public works, the CAO, the deputy clerk. If that's established, and actually an update to that plan will be presented to council at the next council meeting, but as you remember, Councilor McDonald, we had public works, and that was combined kind of strangely, but it was always combined with planning and economic development. If you looked at the title of the committee minutes.
Yeah.
And so that, we used to meet once a month, correct? Before COVID came, and then it kind of petered out because we would discuss it here just in council if there was any issues. And then obviously the rec committee, we did have a property standards committee, but I don't think it ever needed to meet. It was a committee of the whole. So that's the way they've been established in the past. Obviously there's a bylaw that defines how they need to be set out, but council can combine some of them, or they can establish them in the different ways that the bylaw stipulates. So it's up to council if they'd like to make these committees a committee of the whole. I do hope we go back to public works as well. But
So to clarify, we have public works, emergency preparedness, planning and economic development.
that was joined with.
Yeah. Property standards.
And they've asked us to include with property standards animal control as well. In case there is any
That makes sense,
requirements,
I
like
think.
a dog bites someone, there needs to be a judgment on how to move forward with charges and stuff like that. They're asking us to combine those as well, but I'll bring you more information.
Any thoughts, Councilor
I'm
McVeigh?
just asking this, so property standards, which we obviously heard from our constituents, every time we knock on the door, or you spoke to somebody, we have some issues. That right now is a committee of the whole.
Yes,
As I,
it never met in the
it never
past
met,
term.
so it's hard to really jump on that way.
Yeah.
Nobody's bringing it up and we're all saying, we're all on it, but it doesn't come up, right?
We
So
used
it
to have
was-
meetings.
You still mean that? But-
Yeah, I did, okay.
So if we separate that, because we did, I think anybody, like, there was definitely a lot of talk about it, right? Some people in the community, there was a lot of talk about certain houses, certain buildings.
Yeah, so
certain
we're talking
properties.
about dilapidated houses or abandoned cars on backyards.
Yeah,
So,
I just-
so we do have a bylaw officer that enforces our property standards bylaw. This committee would be more if there's an appeal to orders that he gives. They could also give him direction as well. And he would bring reports to them, probably quarterly or something. That's an option.
Sorry, I didn't understand exactly how it worked, but I wanted to just clarify that.
Any other thoughts? Brian?
Again, are we looking at separating this like to 5 or from 2 to 3, I guess, because emergency services, planning, whatever is one. Public works with all the rest of these is another, and then rec is a separate one. So what we're saying right now, we have 3 committees. But we're being asked to do what? Separate into 5,
Emergency
10.
preparedness, we don't have to form because the emergency plan bylaw already forms that one, so that one we don't have to worry about.
I don't have a clear vision, that's why I wanted to defer it till next month. But I have 6 if we include horticultural, which is not formed at all, but just something that I was interested in. And I don't think horticultural would need to go with recreation, I think it would just be, so that would just be flowers and plants. And that when I campaigned, there were just certain key people in the community that I think would be really good at it. It would be good, nice for the community.
Madam Chair, why don't we wait and get to that?
Okay, so do we need to do a motion to defer to? We know there were a lot of things to figure out
There
the
is.
last meeting, so
It's okay.
would anyone like to, oh, I guess. Okay.
Have someone use.
So who would, should I read it first? So be it resolved that the CAO's report of 2022-46 be received for information, and further that council directs the establishment of the committees of council per bylaw 2010-28 take place at the December council meeting, so. All in favor?
I'll
We
move
just
that.
have to move it.
Oh, yeah, so we have, who would like to move it?
I'll move
Does he need to sign it, or I just?
You can read.
And second that? Who would like to second that motion? And all in favor? So we'll do that in December. So next we have the municipal superintendent's report to council, November 9th.
We don't have any motions on that unless council. more for discussion.
So we just, if there's anything anyone would like to discuss about that, so we don't have to move to accept it.
We already accepted it, like we noted it, so we can accept it if you think.
No, that's okay, if we've already done it. Any thoughts on that?
Leave it for now. Long as I get the information to that office and I want it to find.
No, I didn't have a Counselor Dignity. So we're fine. Then we have correspondences from Michael Mantha. Moved by Trevor McVeigh and seconded by Rod McDonald, be it resolved that correspondences 7A and B are noted as received. All in favor? All in favor? And did anyone want to discuss anything about?
I just got one thing, Madam Chair.
Can we
With
start with
that,
Michael Mantha? Is this about Michael Mantha?
about the next one down with Sharon Bob.
Okay, well, first, did anyone have anything to say about Michael Mantha's correspondence? No, so then, yeah, let's go to Sharon Boisvenu. Yeah,
Okay, well, she called me up and complained about the roads and how they weren't maintained this summer. And she said that, I gotta watch what I say, you know? He said that she was told that there was no money for it. And that's why I like to know the money, according to the budget, I just had it, now I put it away, I thought we're done. Anyway, the budget says we budget $8,000 now. If we had public works meetings, I'd be able to keep up with it. Now, where does he spend $8,000 on Sandy roads? You know, like, that's a lot of money. And all they did, as far as I know, they graded it once and filled potholes.
well, I actually don't know, maybe, Madam CAO, you could answer too, did they do calcium back there?
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, actually, I was mistaken when I had said he did do it, and I apologize for that. I asked him today and he hadn't done it. I don't know why he didn't do it, but that could be something that can be discussed. As for the budget being spent out there, I believe that's incorrect. I don't have the figures in front of me, but I believe that's a rumor that went on that. We don't have any money left to spend out there because I'm not aware that that budget is fully spent. I'd have to go through and look at November's invoices to confirm or like that, but, the main issue of why it wasn't done, and I understand Mrs. Blavino's concern. Because yes, they were in bad shape for a bit, but we had zero equipment, everything was down. And unfortunately, you can't go and just rent a backhoe. You can't go rent a truck and put full patch in the back of it. So unfortunately, you know, when Cambria and Ford is telling us, yes, you're gonna get your truck back in 5 days. And then when you go back and then it breaks down again, okay, it's gonna be another 5 days. And now we're going on 6 weeks for a piece of exhaust that apparently a diesel truck requires to run. I don't know where to put the blame on that, other than there's no parts available. And even if we wanted to buy a new truck, there's no trucks available. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So we had a discussion and Public Works did take the backhoe out there with full patch and patched all the larger holes. Yes, there's still some that needs to be done. And as soon as we get our truck back, it'll be done. But unfortunately, our truck has been at Cambria and Ford for 6 weeks now.
No, I understand that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't argue with that. I understand it where the Kelson, the road, where the Kelson, the Gold Off Road and the rest of Sandy Road. I went up there in August. I don't know. I never got no complaints about that there. I don't know if you did, but that dust was terrible.
Oh, we got one.
Yeah.
And it rained the next day, so when we went and looked, it looked fine. So,
When I went up there, honestly, God, I was shocked. I didn't get no phone call or a town didn't get it. I didn't come to the office to find out, but pulled on the road and the wind was blowing towards their camps. I couldn't believe that they didn't complain about it because I was kind of disgusted myself because it wasn't calcium. And they put that new gravel on the year before, and it just, when I went there, just a cloud of dust going towards their camps.
Yes, I think the superintendent actually answers, like in his report, just all the difficulties that have been, you know. If you don't have a vehicle to get to Sandbay Road, it makes it hard to take care of details.
That's what I mean, that if we have a public works meeting every month, I think that would solve a lot of problems, because that's when I used to bring up all my problems, is through public works with roads and that thing. But we had one meeting of probably the last 3 years.
Well, COVID, so yeah, that might be to have more frequent meetings and to deal with some of these things, but I think the CAO is right, that there aren't trucks to buy, ours was getting fixed multiple times. Anybody have any other comments about Sandbay and? Is there a possibility that we could get calcium, like it's actually getting late in the season?
Oh, seriously, now,
Yeah,
So you do it in the spring?
they usually do it around May or something.
whenever
Okay.
the first grade of the road is done, then it's done.
Okay, yeah. So by August, it was probably even seeding too late.
Probably. But we had no truck unfortunately to get there, so,
Mhm.
not ideal, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, so nothing else, so we move on to the Royal Bank. Signing authority changes that, as I understand, they're routinely done when we have a change in council.
Good one.
Oh, boy. Does anyone want to discuss this before I get started reading my book? No, pretty straightforward. Would anyone like to, first it or move it?
I don't know, I'll second it.
Okay, so be it resolved that council agrees to that Royal Bank of Canada is appointed banker for the customer, that either the clerk treasurer or the administrative assistant / deputy treasurer, along with any one of the councillors or the mayor, are authorized on behalf of the customer from time to time, A, to withdraw or order transfer of funds from the customer's account by any means, including the making, drawing, accepting, endorsing, or signing of checks, promissory notes, bills of exchange, other orders for the payment of money or other instruments, or the giving of other instructions. B, to sign any agreements, or other documents or instruments with or in favor of Royal Bank, including agreements and contracts relating to products or services provided by the Royal Bank to the customer. And C, to do or to authorize any person or persons to do any one or more of the following. 1, to receive from the Royal Bank any cash or any securities, instruments, or other property of the customer held by Royal Bank, whether for safekeeping or by security or as security, or to give instructions to Royal Bank for the delivery or other transfer of any such cash, securities, instruments, or other property to any person named in those instructions. 2, to deposit with or negotiate or transfer to Royal Bank for the credit of the customer cash or any security, instrument, or other property, and for those purposes to endorse by rubber stamp or otherwise the name of the customer or any other name under which the customer carries on business or any security or instrument. 3, to instruct Royal Bank by any means to debit the accounts of third parties for a deposit to the credit of the customer. And 4, to receive statements, instruments, and other items, including paid checks and documents relating to the customer's account with any service of Royal Bank, and to settle and certify the customer's accounts with Royal Bank. 3, that all instruments, instructions, agreements, including contracts relating to products or services provided by the Royal Bank, and documents made, drawn, accepted, endorsed, or signed under the corporate seal or otherwise as provided in this resolution and delivered to Royal Bank by any person shall be valid and binding on the customer, and Royal Bank is hereby authorized to act on them and give effect to them. Or that Royal Bank be furnished with A, copy of this resolution, and B, a list of the names of the persons authorized by this resolution to act on behalf of the customer, and with written notice of any changes which may take place in such list, from time to time and with specimens of the signatures of such persons, each certified by the 1 administrative assistant deputy treasurer, and 2 mayor of the customer, and C, in writing any authorization made under paragraph 2C of this resolution. 5, that any document furnished to Royal Bank as provided for in paragraph 4 of this resolution shall be binding upon the customer until a new document repealing or replacing the previous one has been received and duly acknowledged in writing by the branch or agency of Royal Bank where the customer has its account.
Good job.
Yeah. All in favor?
Then I'll, get each one to sign.
Fine. We keep the time up.
It's okay. To sign them. Oh, and it's. Sign. Get you the sign in that box. Oh, yes. I'll send it to them in black.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be black, okay. Do a black pen? Austin, you're here, great. You are at the top.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, he's a fan.
Okay, so next on the list is a bylaw to appoint a deputy mayor. Would anyone like to discuss this before we make a motion?
Just the one with the most votes, usually that, you know, yeah, I got no problem with it. Any good?
So moved by Trevor McVeigh.
We should probably have on the change. Tell us like to move it.
You want that job pretty bad.
Yeah. You gave me that one.
I didn't even. I don't have.
Good catch.
I vote against this.
Be careful.
Just there,
Okay, so moved by Councillor Day-Petit and seconded by Councillor McDonald, be it resolved that being a bylaw to appoint a deputy mayor be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council. Its number shall be 2022-31. All in favor? Councillor McVeigh?
Congratulations.
And so this for information on it, so no.
Yeah, so just moving on to other business.
Okay. So next thing we have is Councillor Day-Petit has requested discussion regarding, establishing a community orchard, which I'm pretty excited about. Go ahead, Councillor Day-Petit.
Well, that's, I've already secured a donation of 5 apple trees. And, from 2 different organizations, and, the location, is, a lot at the end of Spanish Lane which can't be sold because it's a bit of a swamp. There's trees to be cut and a little bit of backfill, which we have in the yard. So that was my idea. I can take care of it. I've taken a few courses and I've sort of tricked beautiful field farms to come and maybe have a couple of days of training, or because he can show us. I know how to prune, but he can show us other things, how to take care of the trees and everything else. He does it in a lot of communities already, so Nairn would be just another one.
What street you there was?
At the end of Spanish Lane.
Off McDonald Street.
Yeah.
It's all swamps there.
Oh, that's okay. That's no problem. There's some fill in the yard. We can get our superintendent to, I'll cut the trees with any volunteers, and then we'll backfill. We only need to backfill a couple of feet. And there's a lot of fill over there.
But you're taking up a building lot, aren't you?
Well, apparently we can't sell it because there's no frontage on a street. There's only frontage on a lane, and we can't sell it without frontage on a street.
Oh,
You would have to change that lane into a street, right, which would obviously cost money, because I mean, you could do it.
Why do we have to change it?
No, I'm just saying, you know, the only way to sell it would be to change.
Oh, yeah,
From a lane. to a street.
exactly.
If you
And-
did
and
that, then
that's
you could
big
sell it, but you
bucks.
would have to then bring it up to standards.
That's big bucks.
Yeah.
Is it, so it is possible, CEO, to change it from a lane to a street, but at a
No, I
certain
wouldn't
amount of
recommend that.
expense?
And
Through you, Madam Chair, that roadway allowance is only for a laneway. You need a much bigger allowance in place when that plan of subdivision went in for a road. So initially, when the municipality took it over for tax arrears, we were trying to sell it. But we kept coming up against difficulty, and then finally it was decided that that lot was not sellable due to the fact that it doesn't have road frontage on a road. If you look at our maps, there was a road that was planned for those lots, but it was never built, obviously because it's a swamp, so. It really is unsellable. It's an asset. It's listed as an asset owned by the municipality. So it would be up to council if they wanted to do a use, for example, like this on it.
why would you want an orange there? Nobody gonna see it.
You can actually see it from the highway.
Oh, so for people that are going through an area to look at. I just look at it after you're gone, who's gonna maintain it and that, you know?
Well, I'm hoping, through you, Mr. Chair, that, we can get some interested people in apples and plums, and I've got apricots personally, and I think, if you can give away all these fruit, at the end of the season, it's a benefit to all the community. It's not gonna cost you a cent, okay, and I'll maintain it.
I think this is something that would work well with the Horticultural Society. I think it is very similar to the idea behind the community gardens as well, where people are kind of coming together as a community. It's not just about food production, it's also kind of a social component, and it works to unify communities. You know, for instance, pruning is done in the middle of winter. So that's a time when a lot of us are in town, you know, unlike the summer, when many are at camps. Did you have a comment, Councillor Austin?
Yes, I go back to the old saying, not in my backyard. Have we approached the people that live there in that near vicinity? Because anybody with apple trees of any kind have a lot of bear problems around here. And they just destroy things. And they have raccoons and bears and.
Yeah.
So I would suggest we approach the neighbors around there for their comments on it.
Or maybe
Before-
approaching the M&R to see how much of a risk it is to have fruit trees.
Yes, he brought it up there, but I got an apple tree in my yard, there's there every year.
Yeah, Madam
Councillor
Chair,
Despatie,
I have a raccoon issue once in a while, but I don't have any bears at my place, and I got 3 apple trees.
Well, I got an apple tree there and it's there every year.
Hmm.
I almost stepped in the cement.
Yeah,
And every year, and they up the tree and they break the branches off and everything else, eh? No, I got, no problem with it, but I mean, if the lot's no good to nobody, but I mean, along the township, that's when you're responsible for maintaining it. And, I'll talk to the taxpayers and see what they think, but it's their town, they not ours. If they agree with it, I got no problem with it.
well, if it's not costing them a dime and they can benefit from the fruit at the end of the season, I can't see a problem.
I actually think what would happen is that it would be a park, really. You would have fruit trees in it. We could call it an orchard. But it really would be a lot like a park. It would be really pretty in the spring when it flowers.
Madam Chair, that's a very interesting point. I hadn't thought about that. Narren doesn't have a park, do they?
Well,
Well, we got a children's park in the back.
we have the ball field, but you're right, not a pretty garden park. We have the garden boxes by the ring. But you could plant the trees, you could have walkways around, you could have benches. It might actually impact the people that are on the laneway, that there might end up being more traffic there. It is a laneway. so.
Yes. Goes right by their homes and that. I think that area there should be approached first before we do it and make any decision on it. Because there's 3 or 4 homes there.
So how do we proceed with this? Do we continue to discuss it? Do we have a deadline of something that needs to be done right away?
Well, ideally, I would have liked to cut the trees this fall. So that,
In the spring we plant?
well, in the spring, or as soon as the superintendent could perhaps start backfilling. And then I would have proper area to plant the trees.
I actually think it's really interesting for the town to even consider, like we have, let's say we put the trees in an orchard, another thing you could do is plant the trees along roadsides. So down south, there's quite a few communities where they plant flowering crabs. And it's gorgeous in the spring, and this is something our community needs is kind of a focus, or we could be the apple tree town. You could have, you could have apple festivals in the
You gotta
fall.
smile at me.
You could have a spring blossom festival. You could, if it's something that grows and is of interest to the community, it's something, I'm just going off on a tangent. So is there anything more you want to discuss? Do you feel that you know enough to make a decision about this, or how do you?
I like
see
to
it?
talk to some factors first. It's their town. Especially the ones around that area.
So do we put out a notice saying this is what we're looking at doing? Cause I don't believe it's Rod's job to go from door to
Right.
door and knock on
Oh,
people's
I'm not
doors
gonna
and
go
say,
door to door,
No, but-
but I see them.
yeah, but it'd be no different than Counselor Austin going door to door. Hey, I see you, what do you think of this? Well, if Counselor Austin doesn't want it, and I'm only picking on Counselor Austin, I don't really want it. So if he doesn't like it, he can say, no, I talked to everybody, they don't like it.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't.
Then it's done. But if Counselor Austin, and if I love it, I talk to everybody and they loved it. You know, like, and I'm just playing
It's,
devil's advocate.
excuse me, Madam Chair, it's a bit of how you present it.
That's right.
I suppose, yeah.
So, but we put it out there and they had to respond, if we get no response, that's not our problem. Like,
Yeah.
you did not respond to, we put it out to you, or they respond and they say, we're interested in it. Well, excellent. Or
So-
maybe somebody would say, yeah, that's great, or maybe you will get 3 people say, I don't want it in my backyard.
I think our CAO is just mentioning different ways that we could take it to a public forum, because you're right, just talking to random people that we know isn't necessarily effective, and it's not everybody, so what
Yeah.
would our options be?
We could do, through you, Madam Chair, we could do a couple different options. We could, like we talked about before, we could put out a flyer asking for people's viewpoint. We could do, social media and ask for, give people a deadline to respond, whether it's something they would like to see or something they wouldn't like to see. We could show a map with the location of where our proposed location is going to be, and then I could present it to council at I'm not quite sure we get it as quickly as the next meeting, but we could try if that's what council would like.
Can we, on our flyer, suggest that they could come to council as a delegation and speak to it? Or is it possible to hold a town hall before our town council meeting? You would probably, I think you would prefer a delegation.
A delegation is normally how we do things, but if council would like to do that.
Councilor Austin.
Okay, I think he has come up with a good idea, but I think we're going too far. Ask the neighbors, immediate neighbors. Have our secretary or Melanie can just call them neighbors, get their opinion. If they're not opposed to it, let's go ahead.
I like that
Keep
idea.
it simple.
Yeah,
Well, I don't
Because,
know
who
that
cares?
one immediate neighbor's opinion actually affects reflects the entire town's opinion.
Well, it's more of the immediate neighbors, because my concern is bears and raccoon problems that we're gonna have, and those people have children. If they have no objection, then it's, oh, good.
Like I had a bear this spring, my grandson was walking down the driveway and the bear was 50 feet away from him. And I looked out the window and said, oh my God, but he went up and the bear turned around and walked away, but that's my concern of the kids, see, the bears.
You could have bears anywhere, though. We live in Narragansett.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when the parents are down, and but you don't let the dog out, and I make sure I go with the dog, because you don't know, so.
I would just like to say, the other thing is bears don't probably like to eat fruit until it's ripe. So if you're picking it promptly, you may be minimizing. Councilor David.
yeah, I was just, talking to. I don't know his last name, his first name is, Rao. He lives on the corner, of Smith and, or East McDonald. And,
Should we be naming someone by name? I'm sorry, yeah, Councilor David,
Oh.
let's not name names.
I apologize. Well, good, I don't know his last name anyway.
That worked out.
That worked out. And he was telling me that, there's a bear that visits his place and he's got no fruit bearing trees, so.
No, I'm not arguing with that. It does attract them, all right.
if there's
I'm just concerned that, let's say we were talking about putting a park on the corner across from my house. And I said, I don't want it there. And you came and asked me as a council, I don't think that should squash the idea for the town. That's my personal opinion. That even though I might not want to look at a bunch of children playing across from my front yard, so that's my concern, that I don't know that we need to emphasize the close proximity of certain neighbors to basically something that would be developing for the neighborhood. I don't know if everyone else agrees with that.
Well, with the newsletter getting out as soon as possible, and the world of Facebook, even if you're not on it, everybody's on it. Or sees it or looks at it, we should be able to get some response back to the town office quick enough. If you don't like it, I think you're gonna let people know, and if you do really like it, you're gonna let people know. It's the people in between that don't care or aren't gonna bother, that, hey, if it's here, great, if it's not, it's not. So I don't know, if you get it out there, you know, we're in 2022, social media obviously has woken everybody up. You can find out anything and everything in 3 seconds, and if I don't know about it, he's messaging me saying, hey, look, this is about you, or this is in your back, you know what I mean? Somebody's gonna tell you. And if you wanna deal with it, they come to the town office, they let Linda or Melanie know, and it's taken care of, and it can be done fairly quickly, I think. I don't see this being a huge, this doesn't take,
No, I
it
think
should
within
get
a
it blasted
month,
out
so
and you get
by
it back.
next council meeting, I think we should be able to. People should be able to have responded by that point, right? Like you said, they either care enough one way or the other to get back to us. So I guess we're writing a, motion.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you would like some public consultation done and have a presentation for the next council meeting.
Sure. So would Councillor Despatie prepare that, or you?
I would
prepare that?
prepare it.
You would work
With Councillor Despatie we could outline the idea, show a map of where the proposed location is and
maybe,
receive people's comments by X date.
maybe
or
even
be
a
delegation.
picture of kind of what we think it could look like.
Mhm.
You know, like tree, bench.
I'm not against it, by no means, but there's a creek goes by, or not a creek, but a drainage thing.
Ditch.
And we can't do anything within 30 meters of that creek, so I don't know where that creek is going through the property you're talking about, pretty close to it. So it had something to look into.
Find out if
Yeah.
it's 30 meters.
Yeah, I
I'm pretty
believe
sure
the
30
top,
meters.
the top part of, like, there's 3 lots there, or 2, sorry, 2, I believe. I believe the top lot is
Within that 30 meters.
it's away 30 meters, but the bottom lot, no. But that's swamp anyways, so, just the top part of the lot.
Would we be allowed, all 6 of us, to go visit the property together? I think that might be useful.
Well, I got no concern about what she's saying, it's the taxpayers afterward, that's what I like to get the taxpayers involved with our town again, like. We do something they don't like, and then all of a sudden they're down our neck, but I mean, I like to communicate with them a little bit.
It's
Yeah,
not a jail. I'm not proposing a jail.
Oh, no, I don't.
They did elect us to do some stuff, and like.
Yeah.
We're never gonna make everybody happy.
No.
No, I like that. You know, and we're gonna make people happy, and you're not gonna make people happy, I think.
Well,
Yes, so
I
we
can see
mentioned-
he's getting disgusted with me, so
flyer.
I'm not for it.
Yeah,
You do have a jump.
and a delegation, the next.
Through
Is there
social
something like-
media.
What's that?
Big Northern Street, is there a chunk of land right there?
I didn't hear you talk about
The old jail.
the old jailer, yeah, right there.
Flyer.
That land is there.
Yeah, there's a
Right
lot
on the
there.
street,
We have an old jail.
yes.
Well, we used to, this tore
It's
down.
gone, the building's gone. It's just
Okay,
vacant land.
so we own that land. Is it-
As far as I know.
Well, we got a flower bed there and everything right now in the middle of it. It's not a very big lot. I don't know how many trees you're planning on planting.
Well, I'm sure you could put more than 5 trees.
Yeah.
So
It's
where
right beside
exactly
the.
is that?
And there's a long. Don't say that.
Okay,
So we're.
Right in the corner of Nelson Street and McDonald.
Mhm.
That chunk of land right there on the right, as you turn in.
and there used to be a flower bed?
Right, it's
We maintain it.
a whole lawn, yeah, that's town property.
Just, no, some McDonald Street there, Nelson Street, the next.
That would be,
Nelson Street was right
it certainly would be.
between Nelson and Spanish.
Okay, let's call it into order. We're just waiting for a resolution. That's okay. That's the Despaties. So,
There, what's it, it's right on the street.
okay, it's gonna pick up the flyer.
Sorry.
I think this is exciting, and I'm not saying that I'm absolutely 100%, but I think it's a great idea. Apple trees, new park. Do I ask for someone willing to move it before I read it?
I would read it first.
Okay. So I'll be looking for moving and seconding. Be it resolved that council directs that CAO receives comments from the citizens regarding establishing a community orchard through social media, our town app, a flyer, and through delegation if requested. And this information be presented to council at the next council meeting. Who would like to move that?
I'd like to move.
Okay. And seconded. All in favor? So no matters for closed section, confirmatory bylaw. Okay, so, it's moved by, Councilor McDonald and seconded by, Councilor McVeigh. That being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Narren-Hyman. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council. And it's numbered the 2022-32, sorry. What is this?
It's a bylaw that confirms all the resolutions pass, like they're a bylaw.
All in favor? First by by Councilor McVeigh and seconded by Councilor McDonald. Be it resolved at the meeting of November 15th, 2022. Do now adjourn at 8:40 p.m. to meet again on the 12th day of December 2022 or at the call of the mayor. All in favor?